Hello and welcome to Sporting Jibberish. I'm Stu Booth.
I'm Jack Luffman. Morning, Stu.
Morning, Jack. Looking very, very nice there. Very picturesque in the background.
Yes. So for those who haven't realised, we surprised the folks, didn't we, Stu, with a little bit of help from you along the way. So we last week were actually, or both the last two recordings were actually with you in Ireland. Well, the first one I was at your rental place. And then last week I was actually in Dublin, and you were obviously back in Preston. But yeah, we made the short flight across to East Midlands last Friday morning and surprised the family. So plenty of tears of joy, I think, yesterday. Last week. So yeah, I'm currently in mum and dad's back garden in Woodall.
Yeah, I believe your mum is never going to trust me again after last week.
Yeah,
it's a bit harsh.
Yeah. Never trusting him again. Never trusting him again.
No. Well, I'd like to sit out in the back garden here. It's actually quite nice outside, but a little bit windy for my liking. So Preston always looks nice. Well, I know it doesn't look nice at all. I'm completely lying about that. But the weather looks okay, but it won't be. So I'm sitting in the dining room.
Yeah, no, it's
just ready to get going.
Pretty nice morning here, actually. Although by all accounts gives blanket rain for Friday and Saturday, so we shall see.
Yes, right. On today's show, we're going to be talking Premier League. Obviously, we are one weekend away now. Very exciting. We've got Community Shield coming up this weekend, so we'll see how that looks. We've got our talking points back on this week, and it involves the one and only Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Is he one? What is it? How do you sing it? He's one of our own.
One of our own. Is it? Who knows?
I'm not sure anymore. Fancy football is going to be coming back on. We're going to talk a little bit about Olympics, a little bit about transfers, what's going on. A little snippet on cricket because that started yesterday, but if you're listening to this, it would have been 2 days ago. By that point, England will well and truly have lost the full Test match and the decider for the Lions as well. But we'll actually start with the rugby because there's obviously news developed on the rugby league side of it this morning where they've actually canned the World Cup off. Isn't that right, Jack?
That's correct. Yes, a few weeks ago, I think it was New Zealand and Australia had said, or their boards had said, without the players' knowledge, that they weren't coming across to England or the UK to do the World Cup in, I think, October. And then this morning it's been binned. So make of that what you will in terms of who are the superpowers in rugby league. I did hear or read something last week, the week before, where people were suggesting that perhaps the Maoris and the New Zealand Maori side should come across, and the Australian Aboriginal side should come across to add a bit of spice to the event, and obviously encourage a little bit more viewership. But obviously they've decided against it, and it's been binned and going to be put off till next year.
Yeah, England still would have lost anyway, even if they'd sent their third string along.
Yeah, they're not. England aren't particularly strong at the moment, are they, in that field? But yeah, no. So bit disappointing for rugby league fans. Although, like a lot of things, I'm sure next year it'll be worth the wait.
I think looking on it is, if you really want your big power hitters in there, it's probably better to postpone it rather than just play with two less teams, especially the two dominant teams in that group. But while we're on the subject of rugby, I caught that some of the Lions game the other day.
Yeah.
Up by 3 or 4 points, I think, at half time, looked fairly comfortable, and then just got steamrolled the second half, absolutely annihilated, straight over the top of them.
Yeah, I actually saw some highlights through on Sky. I think it might be Sky Sports News, and yeah, it seems a bit of a bizarre game. And then I don't want to harp on too much about the officials because I think the two coaches have done enough of that in the media. But there were some bizarre calls. Admittedly, it was a short snippet, so they didn't go into depth in. But first, it was some bizarre calls at the try. I don't think he's got pressure down on that ball at all, and then the tackle in the air only gets a yellow when it should be a red, albeit he wasn't, he didn't have the eyes on the player, but even so, it's a dangerous tackle. So some bizarre calls, and clearly, I think whatever Mr. Erasmus did in the press leading up to it, I think affected the officials there. That said, I don't think Lions were particularly good second half, and I think his side selection for this weekend has proven that. Many changes. 5 or 6 completely out of the 23, including Owen Farrell. So yeah, it's a big game on on Saturday for them.
Yeah, I look forward to it. And I think it's better it being a decider. It would have been a bit of a shame if Lions had won and it was just a nothing game. Even though South couldn't have taken it like that, it would have been. It makes much more interesting viewing.
It does, yeah. I like the Lions thing, and I think obviously from a rugby union as a player, being selected every 4 years for that, it's a little bit like the Olympics, I guess, isn't it? When they all come together, but it's a bit of a strange concept, isn't it? When you've got putting four nations together against just one nation, albeit they're the world champions at the moment. Surely the four nations should win all the time, shouldn't they?
They should do, but Scotland never have any representatives because they're that bad. Actually, I think they've actually got a few this time around, haven't they?
Yeah, Hogg, I think, is captain a few. But yeah, interesting. Be a good game. I'm sure our friend Mr. Cook will be glued to that back in the desert.
No doubt. Right, we'll go on to cricket. This should be nice and short and sweet. So England opened the batting yesterday. Complete collapse, would you say? Well, I think they did they lose first three for like next to nothing, then went on a bit of a stint, and then
they were reasonably
fell apart in the middle order.
Yeah, they were reasonably well placed after a dodgy start, which is just how it is. I'll talk about that in a moment. But then they got themselves to 138 for 3 in a reasonable position. It has to be said before I go on to criticise them, because I am going to. It has to be said that it was not tricky. Were tricky batting conditions. So I'm a little bit surprised that we won the toss and elected to bat. But they were reasonably well positioned at 138 for 3, but then lost 6 wickets for 22 runs. And then managed a little bit of a last wicket hurrah, 183, and then a few for no wickets down. So all in all, though, really
21 for none.
Really, really disappointing day's play.
Right, before you start slagging them off, I was reading an article this morning. Michael Vaughan, ex-England captain, has just come out and absolutely tore strips off Don Sibley and Dan Lawrence, saying clearly not good enough. Why are they even in the squad? Is that not a bit harsh from an ex-England captain just to go and annihilate two players like that?
I mean, it depends what you think about what pundits should be saying, because I just feel a little bit that sometimes that so many pundits in all sport now, look at in football, for example, are all ex-pros and have probably played with some of the players that they're commentating about or commenting about or coached or been close by, that I'm not so sure whether sometimes we're a little bit light on them. However, to destroy them on our social media platform or whatever, I think is probably a little bit below the belt. Albeit I have to agree, but I've been saying this, I don't think it's necessarily their fault. They're the ones that keep getting picked. There's been a lot of criticism this morning and last night of, it's the 100's fault, it's this is fault. Look, the fact of the matter is the ECB are trying to squeeze so much cricket in at the moment to try and make some money that the cricket calendar in England is all awry. There's no doubt about that. They're not playing enough red ball cricket or at the right times. I'm not questioning that at all. But the fact of the matter is, in my opinion, I was having this discussion over text last night with a friend of mine, is they're not picking the right players. For me, I don't think Sibley, Burns, Lawrence or Crawley are good enough to play Test match cricket at the moment. I'm not saying they're not going to be, but they're not good enough to be. People would then say, well, who's going to come in? Well, yeah, good question. But I think we've turfed away players who are good enough to play. David Milan is averaging 90 in red ball cricket in the last 18 months, has a decent enough test record. One of his last test matches was 140 odd at Perth in an Ashes test match. Is the world's number one T20 player. So clearly has the mentality now to deal with the pressure and stuff like that. Nowhere near the squad. They've got young Hamid, who we spoke about before. He's in the squad. He surely should have played. He's in the form of his life again now. Left out the squad. And there were others around the county game, albeit ones have probably had a go already, but they're just so much better. And even going far down as people like Josh Butler, who is, probably one of England's stars. A non-cricket fan would have heard of Josh Butler, but he's a white ball specialist and he's never cracked the red ball stuff. And I know that Folkes is currently injured, he's the Surrey keeper, but he is the best wicket keeper in the world, actually. And can bat. They just need to get to picking the best players and not, dare I say it, roots mates or people who have got in and around other squads. Have got to pick the best team, because if this batting lineup goes to the Ashes, if that happens, of course, but if this batting lineup which you would think is probably the one they're going to go with now, because you've not got many games left before that, it will get annihilated by Australia's attack without any question.
You're making it sound like it's old university sport there. There's a bit of a click going on. Is that what you think, Jack?
Oh, I think there is, yeah. I think there is. I think there's no doubt that since, and I've said it before, it's not an after the moment thing. I would never have appointed Joe Root as Test match captain. He was always going to get the job, and his record is actually fairly decent in terms of wins. But I do believe that his batting has dipped since he took over, and more important than that, the Test match, the environment or the side is just not consistent. Bairstow's want in and out all the time, but it wants to pick these players. Whereas if you look at the white ball side with Morgan, very clear what people are doing, very clear on people's roles. He's not afraid to make big decisions, big calls. He left poor David Willey out of the final squad for the World Cup when he'd been in all that 4-year period, but because Archer suddenly became on the scene, he went, no, I'm picking my best team. Archer's another good example. Morgan gets the best out of him. I'm not so sure Joe Root does. Alex Hales, for example, he will never play white ball cricket again. Now, we can sit here and go whether he should or shouldn't, but Owen Morgan is the man, and he's clearly saying he's not going to play because he's lost the trust and all that kind of jazz that happened. Root wouldn't do that. Almost like he's too nice. And I do think that's affecting it. And like I say, the Test match batting, particularly the top order for the last 18 months, 2 years, is all over the place, and it continues to do so.
Well, all I'm going to do before we finish this thing is England need to pull the finger out, because if this ends up a whitewash to India, we are going to get so much stick when we get back to school.
Oh, I'm already getting it from that's from the kids, yeah, but I've already got it from Mr. Patel back at school. I've not heard from him for 6 weeks. All of a sudden, an Instagram message pops up. Oh, morning. How are you?
No doubt. Right. So let's hope that there's a better performance with the ball today to try and salvage something out of this game, and then a better performance with the bat.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to go on to our Olympics. So I tell you what, I just can't help but just sit there and watch hours and hours of sport. I've gone through sailing. What have I watched? I watched some baseball. I watched football, archery, shooting, athletics. It's just one after another, just like trash sport, but it's class.
It's brilliant. The sailing looks hard work, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's funny because it's points where they flip the sail from one side to the other. They just come to a standstill.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you've just lost all your momentum, and then suddenly it just kicks off again. But yeah, a bit of controversy yesterday with the sailing with regards to the women's pairs being in trouble for potentially letting Poland through, stopping France getting their silver medal.
Really? I didn't see that.
They were trying to get GB disqualified, but GB had won the gold, so if they'd been disqualified, they'd lost the gold. But yeah, what have you been watching? What's your standout this week?
Yeah, so I've sort of, although we've not done overly well, I've been obviously a bit looking at the athletics, and at the minute we're not. The girls did well in the 800 meters. Unfortunate, the second Brit got one out of the medal, but the British record there, and the girls this morning broke the 4x100 meter record, and nice to see Dina Asher-Smith, but a little bit disappointing, I have to say, so far. Yesterday, Johnson Thompson pulled up injured. They reckon she went in with an injury, don't they? So been looking at that, and also the cycling. I love the velodrome. I absolutely love the velodrome. In fact, I remember in 2012 we had, and the scale electric cars. They might still be about. In fact, Rory's probably got it now. But my eldest Georgia, she was really into cycling in Pendleton, and she got a scale electric velodrome with the bikes, and it was class. But yeah, I like watching that, and of course, they've done okay. I mean, they're not at the strongest at the moment, the cyclists, are they? They're a little bit below where we probably expected them in 2016 and 2012, but I think it's really exciting. I think we're going all right in the Omnium, which is like the multi-event one, isn't it? The British fellows there, Walls is going well in that. And hopefully Laura Trott, or Laura Kenya, she is now, I think could end up being the most successful British female athlete, if not athlete, to match her husband as well, because he's already claimed the silver earlier on. So I love the cycling, and fingers crossed it can bring some more medals home.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I've the two ones I've been really watching this week. The first one I actually texted you about was USA played Japan in baseball. USA, obviously, world's best country with regards to baseball. They actually have their own World Series, but actually lost to Japan. So, as I texted Jack the other day, I said World Series should now be scrapped. They should now become like a minor competition, and Japan should host the big competition. But even though Japan's baseball is really, really intense and quite high quality anyway, they actually beat Korea yesterday, Japan, in the semis, I think. So they're going really well. And the other one is I've actually caught the women's semi-finals. I watched the England lose to Australia. GB lose to Australia. And then I watched the semis where Sweden look a force. There's a girl there called Rothlo. She's a left-sided player, fast, really good on the ball, and got a demon of a left foot. She's been absolute class. Won't surprise me if she doesn't get like player of the tournament for the football side of it. I believe she's just signed for Barcelona. And then I watched America absolutely batter Canada, and Canada won 1-0 with a penalty in 75th minute.
Did they really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, so USA are out. So it'll be Canada, Sweden in the final. And for me, no doubt Sweden will win that at a canter, I reckon. But yeah, they'd be my two standout ones this week with regards to the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, just quickly, I was just looking yesterday that somebody said to me, "Oh, Britain must be art," but the way behind the medal thing from Rio, which I didn't realise, that particularly in the gold medal area. So I don't think there's almost no chance now of them breaking the gold medal record, but perhaps an outside chance of medals overall. So,
well, we've got to mention while we're on the show is Sky, 13-year-old skateboarder, winning bronze medal. That's some achievement. I've sat there looking at Harry yesterday. I'm like, 15 years old, and you've not achieved nothing. You've got a 13-year-old girl who's just gone and got herself a bronze medal. So I'll be giving him some more stick when he gets up later.
It's a fine effort. That really, really fine effort.
Yeah. Right. We'll move on to the football section. I'll quickly mention that if you've not seen it on our social medias, I've put our fancy football competition out there. Get involved. Sign up to the league. Doesn't cost you anything. Prizes. We'll give you a list of prizes in the next couple of weeks of what's going on and what you can win. But last year we had some awesome prizes from 2-day staircase, money off, free food vouchers, and all sorts. So it doesn't cost you anything. So what do you have to lose? I have everything to lose because I seem to come bottom out of everybody. But I have spoken to the fancy football expert, Ian Larkin, this morning. He did say he'll be back ready for the show next week with some hints and tips leading into the first game.
It's his birthday today as well. We must wish him a happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, Larko. But when you hear this, it would have been yesterday. So belated happy birthday, Larko. But yeah, have a look out for that and get involved in that. It should be fun. It's automatically done the league and the cup in one go for us this year. So I don't even need to mess about with it. Yeah, so we'll keep watch that one. See what.
Are we going to have a little bit of a side bet who finishes above each other in the league, Stuart?
Yeah, of course we can. Of course we can. We'll have a think about some prizes that can be dished out, and then we'll go for it. Maybe the loser has to buy the other one their home top for the following season.
Yeah. Thankfully, not Spurs' away top this year, please.
No, it's not. Less we say about Spurs, the better. Second in time. But right, I asked you to pick out your predictions for the Premier League, Jackie boy. So who have you gone for? Top four, and I want your bottom three. And
top four, I think. Are we going in order or?
Well, yeah, you can do if you want.
Yeah, so I can't see past Man City winning it again. Man City, I think Liverpool will come back stronger. Liverpool, I'm going to go Chelsea third. And unfortunately, because I think they've got a little bit of momentum, Manchester United in fourth.
I've got the same four, but I'm going to put my neck on the line here, and we'll go Liverpool first, City second, Chelsea third, United fourth.
I don't mind that bit of loyalty, mate. I don't think they'll be far off. I don't think they'll be far off.
I think with the fact that the back line will be sorted, reports are that Minamino is flying in training at the moment and doing really well. Naby Keita is supposed to be playing really well behind closed doors. And then we're also having a look at is now we've got Jota in there from the get-go, see how well he does, with the full squad together.
I mean, I think I say City, and I can't see past City, and obviously it looks like the Grealish is going to get over the line. You'd argue that has he not got players like that already there? And I do think, and we'll talk about it no doubt in a minute or two, but I've said before, their biggest issue could be the fact if they don't get a striker, that where are the goals going to come from?
Well, I'm going to throw it out there. Do they need a striker?
Well, that's the thing. But can you really go through a whole season and not play with one?
We'll see. Right, we'll talk about them in a second because we're going to talk about a bit of transfer with regards to City. But bottom three.
I don't know. It's tough. I think I've got a feeling Palace might struggle this year. If I'm honest with you, I know they've done all right at the moment, haven't they? They've got some bids on the table. Unfortunately, I don't think, as much as I'd love to see them survive, Brentford I think will go down, and probably Watford. That'd be my bet.
It's almost like you're reading my notes. I've got Crystal Palace, Brentford, and Watford.
Yeah.
I think Norwich might just escape it. I think the fact that they went down the season before, they might have a little bit more about them this time around to keep themselves up.
They're the other ones. They're the other ones that I thought, but but they've lost Wendy to Villa. If they lose Campbell, then they're probably struggling. And I do honestly think the likes of Burnley, Newcastle, maybe even Southampton could also be down there as well this year.
Yeah. So I've got here my notes here. Worried for Southampton. I just think that the fact that Villa are trying to buy Ward-Prowse, if they manage to put something on the table and take him, the fact they've just lost Ings as well, I'd be really worried for Southampton. They're really going to be looking at trying to get 1-0 wins left, right, and centre because they won't have the firepower up front.
No, definitely not. Che Adams did a job around Ings, is going to pop in with. If you get, I don't know, 8 goals from him in a year, I think you've done well. And that's
he's not going to hit double figures, is he?
No, and that's not going to be enough to keep you up, is it?
No. Right, so on to the transfer gossip. Obviously, everything's revolving around Jack Grealish. And I put my notes here. Do they need Kane if they get Jack Grealish? So you've got Jack Grealish, you've got Silva, but the talk is that Silva might then go out to Atletico if Grealish comes in. Torres is coming back into his second season, and he had a decent European Championships. Sterling had a really good Championships that could play up front. So you're potentially talking about 3 players there. You've got Delap as your backup young striker. Jesus again there.
Yeah.
I'm now wondering if you just spent 100 million on Jack Grealish, is Kane really worth 160 million at 28 years old with, you'd probably say, the last 2 seasons, a little bit of an injury problem? I think before that, he didn't really pick up many injuries, but definitely in the last couple of seasons, he seems to be picking up more and more knocks. So I just wonder, do they punt that 160 million on him, or do they save the money?
I mean, the thing is, forget all those. They're all sort of valid points and what have you. And we all know that I'm a big Kane fan. But the fact of the matter is, can they really afford to spend 260 million? Whoever the 2 players, 3 players are, that's the other thing, and it does make you wonder. But there's talk. I think there is talk of trying to get Silva out the door, isn't there? And obviously the things aren't great between him and not Grealish, him and Sterling, are they? By all accounts. So who knows? I still think that if they've got the money, and whether it's under 60 million, I think that's a bit too much. I'll be honest. If they've got 120 million or something like that, I still think they'll buy him, or somebody may even be a late bid for Haaland, whoever, because I think it's not just a Premiership that they've got their eyes on. They've got to win that Champions League, haven't they? The amount of money that he's spent and the success they've had domestically, he's got to win. He's got to win the Champions League within the next year or 2, and I think you'll find that that's why he's bought Grealish. I think that's why they'll go for. Let's talk that it's Kane. That's why they'll go for Kane, because if he has him for 2 years, how many goals will he score? And those goals will probably win him the Champions League. But you're dead right. It's a lot of money when you've just spent 100 million.
Yeah. Right. And the only one we talked about this off air was Aston Villa. I don't think they've been very sneaky about it this year. I think they've just been in everybody's faces that they have been throwing out money left, right, and centre on all sorts of different players. And whether this Grealish thing was always in the background that they knew they were going to get the money from. But the talk is that, and I'll just run through them. We can discuss them all at the end. Is that if the deal for Grealish goes through, they're talking about going for Cantwell from Norwich, which you mentioned. They've just signed Danny Ings, which I think is an amazing signing from Southampton. And Southampton, I can't understand why they would let him go. They've also just bought Leon Bailey from Leverkusen, very, very talented winger. There's talks, rumour mill, that they're going to go for Tammy Abraham and potentially go for a loan deal for Tuzabi from United. And Ward-Prowse keeps appearing and doesn't quite go away, and he just keeps going in the background. So Villa have not been shy in splashing the cash. And you actually found out a bit of interesting information, didn't you, about how much Villa have spent over the last few seasons?
Yeah, they've spent something in the region of 300 million over the last 5 seasons. And the reason I picked that up was, as I said to you off air, that following one of the Twitter accounts, Spurs, and it was saying that Spurs have spent 250 over 7 seasons, and it was all about getting Levy and Enoch, obviously the owning company, out. But 300 million over 5 years is a lot of money. And to be fair, you would say it's done the job at the moment, because it's got them back into the Premiership. It's solidified their Premiership status, and now looks like they're going to try and move on. I mean, by all accounts, the new contract that they offer Grealish, wages is more than what he's going to sign for at Man City, which is interesting for me on 2 points. A, that's a lot of money that obviously Villa have got or not got or whatever, or trying to play with. And B, if that is the case and he does go, fair play to Grealish in terms of not actually going for extra money. I mean, I don't think players go for any extra money now anyway, because they've got enough, haven't they? I think it's more about trophies and things like that. But interesting. Yeah. And I think all of those signings are decent. I worry still with them at the back a little bit, Villa. If you're as a Villa fan thinking, we're going to push to the next level, can we break into, again, alongside the likes of, I don't know, Leicester, it's probably Spurs, Arsenal, all that. I worry about them defensively, but certainly moving forward in the middle of the park, I think, and moving forward, they look decent. And with Ings, you've got a proven goal scorer. He's only concerned, a bit like you said, his injuries probably. And that's why if they manage to get Abraham as well, looking decent for me, that.
Yeah, I think there's one player that I watched played for Villa. I think his name is it Traore, that plays kind of in and around. He kind of like a floating left-right winger, comes in, and he just looks so awkward and not legit with the way he does certain things. But then he'll just whiz one in the top corner. It just looks Bob average, and then do something really special. So he's going to be one of them I might have a sneaky eye on in the fantasy football. But I think with all fantasy football, you need to see how teams settle down with the new players, don't you, before you can start sticking some of these boys in.
Yeah, difficult to know who's going to play. Where are they going to play? How long are they going to play? What's going to be the starting lineup? But they're looking all right, and certainly will put pressure, I think, on that. If they start off well, pressure on that middle of the table sides, I guess.
Well, yeah, you've got in that group,
Leeds.
You've got Leeds that were wanting to break into that. You've got Leicester, you've got Arsenal, you've got Spurs, you've got Everton now with the amount of money they've chucked about the place. So there's a good group of 5 or 6 teams there that will be battling for that top 5th, 6th, 7th spot. And like we saw last year, West Ham is one that we're not even mentioned. That if they make a good enough start, and Leicester have done it time and time again, if they make a good enough start, they can impose themselves on the top 4. But albeit Leicester, as per usual, bottle jobs will fall out at lastminute.com.
Just while we're on Leicester, a bit unfortunate for young Fofana last night. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was a bad tackle as well, wasn't it? Not needing a friendly.
It was a bad tackle.
Broken leg, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel interesting enough. I saw people on, obviously they need to get centre half, and I thought, it was Nick Asher actually on Twitter put, how about Cahill on a 1-year deal? I thought decent shout that.
Well, he's on a freebie now, isn't he, Kale?
Yeah.
He's left the club.
I would have thought that was a decent enough shout, because they've got Lord Farquhar there, and they've got the ex-Man United fella,
Johnny Evans,
and I would have thought Kale on a 1-year deal wouldn't be a bad shout, to be fair.
Yeah,
as a quick fix.
Well, you think quick fix, but then they are really losing speed at the back if they bring in Kale, aren't they?
True.
But they do kind of play like a 3 at the back. But right, we are going to the talking point. Talking point. Everything is centred around. We've briefly mentioned him a few times on the show. It's Harry Kane. Harry Kane is absence from training. So, Jack, I'll let you go for it first.
I mean, I think when your dad used to say, and you'll do it as a parent, I've done it, when you go, I'm just disappointed, it hurts you more than anything, doesn't it? And I think that's where I am with it. I just didn't see it coming from him. And I saw Gary Neville do a bit for Sky, saying, he's like, and everybody says it, he's the most ultimate professional that a lot of them have ever seen, work with, etc., etc. So for him to do this, if he is deliberately missing training like he's being reported, and I say if because there are 1 or 2 other bits to that I'll talk about in a moment, then I think ultimately it's wrong, because he is contracted. You've got to turn up to work. It's as simple as that. And for me, it wouldn't wipe off what he's achieved with Spurs and his goal scoring and whatever like that. That's it. You should turn up. But I think the point of the matter is, and I think a lot of Tottenham fans have got to this point, is it just shows where Levy has just failed the club over the last, since the Champions League final, and you'd have seen it when Pochettino did that interview with Lineker where he said, we just now need to regroup, rebuild, etc. And he's not done it. Promise this, promise that, And I know we've had the stadium, but you're a football club chairman or owner, you've got to, it's not played with bricks and mortar, is it? So something has drastically gone wrong, I think, for him not to turn up. I think it's wrong and disappointing, and I hope it can be resolved. But there is rumour that he's isolating, so he's been on a holiday, and that the club knew that he wasn't going to be there. There's then another rumour saying that he was doing that, but now he's gone to Florida as well. So I'm just I think I put it in your message to you yesterday, I'm very surprised that neither party has made an official statement, however true or not true that would be, over the situation. And I know Nuno last night sort of just said he's just still waiting to speak to him, and he'll sort it out when he does speak to him, which will be at the weekend or soon, sorry. So it's a bizarre situation. I hope it gets resolved. But like I said all along, I think I thought the deal with Man City was done and dusted. And I wonder whether that's why there's been an issue, that perhaps it was done and dusted and something's gone awry. Most likely from Levy, because they all say, don't they, he's the worst person to do business with. And maybe Kane, for want of a better word, has chucked his toys out. But disappointed. And frustrated, but let's hope it sorts itself out. But you can't get away from the fact that he should be. If he was meant to be at training, he should have been there.
Yeah, so I put this out on Twitter. I put a little poll out there: is Harry Kane right or wrong to miss training? 29% of people said that he's right to miss training. 71% said he is wrong to. And then we had a couple of comments from a few people. Henry came on and said, "I suspect Levy's been a clown about the whole situation. He's the best striker in the world and has to go and win trophies. Tottenham have gone backwards this summer and may have real torrid season this forthcoming." And the other one is George Edwards come on the situation. There's no way Levy's letting Kane turn up in the City shirt at Spurs on game week 1. Deal could happen, but that won't.
Yeah.
So I think that what George is saying there is potentially maybe why this has been dragged on so long. So then any transfer that happens is going to happen for game week 2 to start. So then nothing worse than first game of the season is Harry Kane turns up and bags a hat-trick against you.
Yeah.
But with regards to Harry Kane and missing training, the stories that he's made a gentleman's agreement with Levy, that they've done a handshake, that this was always going to happen, that Harry Kane. But for me, I think the biggest thing is that you've got England captain, supposedly the most professional person in the world, being the most unprofessional at this second in time. release a statement, tell us what's going on, tell the world what's going on, because this is damaging your reputation as captain. I'm not saying that England would drop him from captaincy because the two don't directly link, but you, and this is what bugs me, is that it's so much player power, is that the most you can get fined is 2 weeks' wages without then having to go to like a court of attribution. But that would never happen because it's just a waste of everybody's time. But it just shows how much the players are in power, is that they can just not turn up for training, take the 2 week hit, and then still say at home or disappear off to Florida. And the club can't do anything else about it, because it's not like they can turn around and go, right, that's it, we're going to rip your contract up, which would happen to you, Jack, if you did that at work. Yeah. If you refused to come to work, you'd be fired and it would go down in your CV and you'd be marked. And if you went for another job, it would say, Jack refused to come to work, highly unprofessional, do not employ him. Man City wouldn't care about that. They'd be like, we'll get you for free, come and sign here on this dotted line, which just makes a whole mockery of the whole situation. Is that more needs to be done to protect the clubs when players act like big babies, regardless of what's going on. If he is isolating, say that.
Yeah.
Like, stop people rumour mongering and calling you out and damaging your own reputation, because at some point, right, Spurs fans will be loyal and they'll blame Levy or they'll blame the situation. But if this continues and continues and continues, Spurs players fans will then start to turn on Harry Kane and saying, what on earth are you doing? Why are you not telling us? And even if I think now, if he hangs this on for another 4 or 5 days and then releases a statement saying, I'm isolating, you'll be like, why do you not do that in the first place?
Yeah, I agree. It's a bizarre. I completely agree with the player power thing, and obviously, this isn't the first time, and it won't be the last time that a player does that. I completely agree with you on that. That's the thing I find most bizarre. I think George on that Twitter might have come with it. You just wonder whether the whole kind of, is there a gentleman's agreement? The fact that they don't want him to go until after that first game of the season, therefore he is being given he is on holiday and isolated. But why don't come out and say it? Or has he been expecting the club to say it and Levy's now stitching up? I don't know. But if that's the case, then come out and say that. The problem is, from what I can make out, is that obviously he's now represented by his brother. And obviously I don't know Charlie Kane from Adam, but he makes you wonder. You'd hope that he's got a ball about it than being following advice from his brother, rather than tapping into all the. I mean, I'm pretty sure that any Spurs legend, any England legend, the England manager Gary Neville, I'm pretty sure he's got all their numbers. So what should I do, chaps? But it's really bizarre, and that's why. And I'm not sticking up for him, but that's why I think there's probably a bit more to it than him just not turning up for training. Because I think that there would have been something said more official, particularly from the club's point of view. Because remember, all this, we're going to fine him. He's not. It's all conjecture. There's nothing been official from the club either. So that's why I think there's something there that's not. But from an England fan's point of view, from a Spurs fan's point of view, would it have not been better for him just to turn up at training, and then let's get footage of him training with the under-23s because Levy's not happy with him, because the ball's in his court then. If there is a massive loggerhead, if that's the case. But no doubt we'll see it all played out over the next few days, won't we?
Certainly will.
The biggest problem is, though, what happens if he doesn't get the move and he's a Spurs player?
Well, you'll just do what you normally do, just like it or lump it and get on with it, don't they?
Well, of course you do, but awkward. Orcs, as they'd say.
Yeah. Right, Jack. Right, that's it. It should be exciting because next week will be the start of the Premiership. Predictions on the on the Carly, what's it called? Community Shield this weekend?
Who's playing? Man City, Chelsea?
Man City, Leicester.
Man City, Leicester. Yeah, of
course,
Leicester.
Chelsea, Leicester. What am I on about? Chelsea, Leicester. No, it's Man City.
Man City, Leicester.
About?
Yeah, Man City, Leicester. Oh, Man City.
Man City 4-0.
Yeah, Grealish with a brace on debut.
Yeah, well, I saw a leaked picture of him doing his Sky Sports walkout yesterday.
Oh, was there?
So we'll see, but I believe he was in Manchester yesterday, sorting out everything. So
medical
hopefully
medical this morning I've read. So Thursday morning. Right. So
We'll keep an eye out on that. But anything exciting planned for your next few days, Jack?
So I am going to Lincoln this afternoon to meet with the Wanderers kit supplier. That's this afternoon, which will be good. And then, not a lot. I think we're catching up with family and to eat and drink yet more bad things for you. I can't wait to get back to the desert and get it sweated out.
I'm gonna come back 10-ton test. I'm thinking about booking 2 seats on the flight on the way back.
It's a bit like that, but yeah, nothing major. I don't think. I was thinking about tickets for a test match either tomorrow or Saturday, but I'm not sure now. So we'll see. What about yourself?
I've got a meeting with some old football players on Friday night, which will be a good catch up. Some lads that we won the Preston League together, Sunday League team called Greenlands. I think runners up in the County Cup as well. So due to meet up with them Friday. Saturday it's the brother-in-law's wife's 30th party, so we've got to do one for that. Wow. And then Sunday, Manchester for the day with a good friend of mine, and we're doing a Peaky Blinders brunch.
Oh, have you got your flat cat with you? Have you left it at home?
No, my flat cat's not here, so it should be interesting. I'll take plenty of pictures anyway. Yeah, so
brilliant.
It should be good.
Good stuff. Well, no doubt you'll have some gibberish to talk about over the weekend, because at the end of the day,
no doubt. What do we know?